Did you know that in your brain there's an entire cocktail of hormones that will determine whether you stay motivated when learning English or not? Effective English Communicators, where you see learning English faster, speaking English more confidently, making much faster progress than most people, understand one thing: the chemistry of their brain. And before you leave the video, because you say chemistry, what is this guy talking about? I came here to watch a video on motivation with learning English. A lot of struggling English students are usually stuck with learning English because they keep studying with the old-fashioned ways of studying. They keep studying all those grammar rules that they used to do back in school, taking those lovely notes and highlighting stuff and memorizing vocabulary, but then end up not having confidence in conversation. And it's usually not just because they don't know how to build confidence in the simplest way possible, but also because they never think about the fact that, well, if I want to learn better, my brain is going to help me with that, so I'd much rather find out more about how my brain works and helps me learn to speak English faster than just continuing to follow what didn't work back in the days either. Because have you seen anyone who learned to speak English fluently and confidently because they kept studying and memorizing vocabulary? There are these things called neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphin that your brain releases to help you stay on task and make progress with your learning. The issue is, just like with so many other things that we professionals need to get better career, life opportunities, live a more fulfilled life, things like ecology, personal development, consciousness, budgeting, etc. We never learned this in school. So if you ever felt like quitting because all you do is just invest a lot of your time and effort in learning English, watching movie after movie, video after video, but still struggling to understand what the people are saying when they speak fast. You might also practice speaking to yourself, recording yourself, having conversations with others, but you feel like you haven't made progress in the last 6 months or a year. I put this video together for you so you can understand what activities you can focus on that are not necessarily about what you study and what grammar structures you look at or what communicative skills you practice, but how you study, which will all help you keep staying on this journey that is meant to be long. And I'm not saying it's gonna be shorter, because how many people have you seen around who speak English at really good, advanced, proficient levels? It is long, but that doesn't mean you can't make it as enjoyable, fun, and motivating as possible. And before you freak out about brain chemistry, I'm not a brain chemistry expert either. What I care about whenever I do my research on the newest findings, research on learning languages and language acquisition, is to find ways that I can design activities or materials for my students which, based on neuroscience, will help them make the fastest progress possible in my program and get to their goals, whether it's getting a better job, a promotion, moving to another country. So I'm going to share with you the basics so you really understand how your brain, once you understand how to learn effectively, is literally here to help you the best way it can, so you stay motivated when learning English. And if you want to find out more about some of the most effective ways I was able to learn to speak 5 languages fluently, and some of the habits that my most successful students in my program built and maintained to get to their fluency and confidence, download my free ebook from the first link in the description below. Let's dive into the most important one, which is dopamine. You recall those times when it took you so much effort to understand someone without the subtitles in a movie, or when you think about that next word you want to use in a conversation but you just can't for the life of you remember what that word is. And things that feel hard aren't hard because they are hard, or aren't hard because we can't do it. They are hard, and this is why mindset is such an important component of your success with learning English, because we don't get that immediate dopamine that we get when we do something that feels easy. It's already easy for you to say things like, "Where do you come from?" or "How is it going?" because you've already made those part of your habits. You already know how to say them. And understanding what I'm telling you about this whole dopamine system and how it helps you stay motivated and make progress with your English learning the fastest way possible is what ultimately helped me become a fluent and confident English speaker by the age of 20, despite not speaking a native language that's even related to English, because my native language is Hungarian, coming from a working class family and struggling with my anxiety, perfection, and shyness for years. In this video, I talk even more about the biggest difference between effective English communicators who are learning to speak English confidently pretty fast and people who struggle to learn English for years and not making a lot of progress, which is their relationship with discomfort. Because the way your brain works is that it wants you to stay safe. It doesn't want you to take risks like speaking English in front of other people while you make mistakes, if you believe that making mistakes puts you at risk. This is why a lot of struggling English students feel scared of making mistakes in front of other people or forget vocabulary while speaking, because they are way too nervous. Not necessarily because there's anything wrong with them. Not because they couldn't do it or because they are bad at speaking, simply because they haven't got used to that feeling yet. They haven't made that part of their habits through practice and consistency. Because when you already have habits, your brain will reward you immediately. The reason I'm able to go up to the top of this building and jump into the swimming pool is because I've made swimming part of my daily habit. I immediately get motivated to go for a swim by that small amount of dopamine because it's already part of my habit. So when you're still finding it hard to find the motivation to watch part of a movie without the subtitles on, so you can practice understanding people without seeing the subtitles, because in real life there are no subtitles. You don't make enough time to review vocabulary while you're having breakfast, taking the train to work, or you hold yourself back from having conversations that might be a bit above your current level, like talking about more advanced topics or using a bit more complex grammar. This all feels difficult because you don't get that dopamine first yet. You haven't made them your habits yet. But as you keep trying, making an effort, looking at all the benefits of doing that activity, the dopamine is going to be released earlier and earlier for you until it finally becomes a habit. People say it usually takes between 30 to 67 days to get there. And while there's no dopamine to make you feel better yet, as you're still establishing this habit, what I always recommend my students is to actually celebrate those small steps they take. We don't have to expect to pore over books for 3 hours or to talk with someone for 5 hours. In fact, language learning is more about consistency with those activities you actually make time for and integrate into your daily routine than intensity, and understanding how you get a lot of dopamine the moment you start celebrating that you've done something, challenging. And if you often don't know what to do next or confused about what activities to focus on to make the most of your time you can spend, because I'm guessing you have a limited amount of time to dedicate to English as a professional, something I talk a lot about in this video, making time for those small activities where you use the language and it's a tiny bit challenging and you sprinkle them around your daily routine and celebrate them, will help you release that dopamine you need to stay motivated when learning English. Because which way are going to make more progress with learning English, not waste time or energy waiting, procrastinating, strategizing, and get to that promotion, that next job or opportunity in life. If you keep worrying about how difficult it is, feeling nervous about making mistakes or messing up a conversation, which no matter how hard you try, you won't be able to avoid, and then not making time for speaking, listening to English without the subtitles because they make you feel uncomfortable. Or if you say, well, I could watch 5-10 minutes of a movie without the subtitles to practice my listening, or I can speak with someone for 10-15 minutes for a start to get used to speaking English in front of other people and then do it. Secondary motivation is serotonin, and the easiest way you have access to serotonin is simply what I sometimes do, and the reason I spend so much of my time in tropical countries is none other than sunlight. The typical night owl when I was living in Japan between 2018 and 2021, and I was learning Japanese and did put in the work every single day to either have a conversation, understand something. No, not every professional can do this. Well, sometimes we have the weekend where you can make time for some active learning. I found myself much more productive when I was learning Japanese between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. because I got lots of sunlight. You also get serotonin when you stay focused, and staying focused is an art and a science. You're always going to be able to tap into that serotonin as long as you stay in that flow state that I'm always working really hard on my students achieve, where they can have a conversation, engage with the vocabulary learning activity, or listen to a short video that we learn a lot of vocabulary from, not even noticing that they are making an effort. What often helps my focus, besides getting into that flow and understanding focus, which I'll be talking about in a bit, is also what I do on a daily basis, whether it's regular exercise, a healthy diet, not putting shit into my body, and meditation, which is something you can find out a bit more about in this video. Focus is not something you just get into, like you walk into a room, a shop or a library and then you stay there. Focus is something that's fluctuating. So the challenge with staying focused, especially in this world of distraction, to do your best and get back into focus when you start feeling that you're getting distracted and your focus is getting weaker. Personally, when I prepare materials for my students, reply to emails about new students trying to join our community, or have a meeting with my team preparing scripts for my YouTube videos, for example, I always make sure I don't keep my phone in the same room where I am. Now, to me, the most exciting neurochemical is oxytocin. You hear me say this a lot: learning English isn't about perfection, it's about connection. I think there's a TED talk about this. I'm gonna link that in the description below. When struggling English students feel nervous about speaking English in front of other people, making mistakes, or taking the time to think, they worry about making the other person feel uncomfortable because they have to wait for them to answer. When they do decide to walk into that conversation despite the fear, that's when the brain releases oxytocin. So eventually, anxiety can be looked at as a good thing that helps us find the right connections with the right people. I've been leading English learning communities for almost 10 years. I started my first one in 2015, which was more of an offline community. And besides having those conversation-based classes with people from all around the world, we went on trips to other cities. Like I took them to Bath once, Brighton, Birmingham and Bristol as well. Some of the things the professionals, business owners, entrepreneurs, academics or students love in our community isn't just the fact that they get a lot of oxytocin when they learn together, they collaborate in class or have a conversation, but the fact that we are international, which helps them understand all kinds of different accents, but also connect with people from all around the world who don't speak their native language. Students all the way from Brazil, Indonesia, Romania, Mexico, France, Italy, or South Korea. The fact that they feel safe, that no one judges them, because when you're learning English with other people who are also doing their best to learn English, they know the struggle. They know how difficult it is to speak English while you're making mistakes. When I was shy and I felt ashamed of my accent or worried about what people would think when I make a mistake, that's what I realized, that not everybody is going to judge. If I want to save time, if I want to save energy and all the stress that I would waste worrying about what people think about me, all I really need is to find my tribe, my kind of people who I can connect with, produce a lot of oxytocin, and then keep going. Not just practicing having conversations with people, but also building my confidence. And we're all social creatures. Like, we're not lone wolves who are meant to just walk around in the forest all by ourselves. Connection is in our DNA. And if you really understand how social interaction, social psychology, social learning, and neurotransmitters like oxytocin work, you will see how, regardless of your level of fluency, actively participating in learning communities to learn together, grow together, and discuss fun, deep intellectual topics will actually speed up your learning process. And last but not least, we can also tap into endorphin, not only by eating chocolate. Because imagine you eat chocolate every time you learn English. Given the fact how long it takes to learn to speak a language fluently, it wouldn't be something your dietitian would recommend. The best way to stay motivated when learning English with the help of endorphin is to incorporate a lot of laughter, humor and fun in the activities you do. This is why it's so important to choose materials to practice with, activities to work on, having conversations about topics that you're actually interested in. And if you want to maximize your learning experience, you don't just want to focus on activities that are fun, because what's the point of doing them for fun if you're not making progress, you're not learning or remembering anything? This is partly why lots of language learning apps don't really work, because they don't challenge. And the way effective English communicators make the most progress is not just by doing something that's fun. This is something we focus a lot on in our community, but also doing activities that are optimized at their current level of English or a little bit above, which is something you can hear a lot more about in another video I posted. If you're not particularly enjoying all the activities you do when you're learning English, when you're using English, you can just simply take a walk and you'll have endorphin released into your bloodstream. I always see those people who want to learn English more effectively and not wasting all their time and a lot of energy and a lot of extra unnecessary stress because they copy what they used to do back in high school. All we need to understand is how our brain works and how those learning processes work that actually help us make a lot of progress with our fluency. So I hope you found what I shared about all these happiness hormones and how they're going to help you so much with learning English so much more effectively really, really useful. Which of these 4 do you think you're going to tap more into? Let me know in the comments below.